Welcome to Now Be You, a podcast and global community for ambitious female entrepreneurs. Here we discuss the ways we can empower you to meet us at the intersection of wellness and daily business practices. I'm your host, Leonora Be You, a psychologist, meditation guide, author, entrepreneur, and mentor with over a decade of experience helping thousands of women unlock their full potential. So welcome back to our Now Be You show. It is such an honor to have my dear friend and a wonderful, inspiring woman, Pat Mitchell. And as we were previously talking before I introduce you, Pat, we are both sitting not in our comfort zone. So Pat is a professional journalist, first of all, behind all the other things you've done. We're gonna find out. And me, I so much love to be interviewed, but not interview. So we are out of our comfort zones, but enjoy.
We switch chairs at some point.
Exactly.
Well, maybe we switch mindsets for this interview.
Indeed. And that's very important, to actually go out of our comfort zones and explore what's gonna happen in this, our conversation.
Okay.
So, as Pat Mitchell is an influential journalist, producer, and the first woman to serve as president and CEO of PBS. Early in her career, she made history by creating and hosting Women to Women, the first national syndicated television program produced and led by women for women. Pat has devoted her life to breaking new ground for women in media, politics, and leadership, from producing award-winning films and celebrate women's contributions to co-founding Project Dandelion, a global women-led climate movement. She has consistently used her platforms to champion advocacy, justice, and social change. Her memoir, Becoming a Dangerous Woman, reflects a lifetime of courage, leadership, and mentorship. Pat Mitchell's story is not just about personal success. It's about redefining what it means to lead with purpose, passion, and collective power. I could go on and on.
Oh, thank you. That's lovely. Really beautiful.
It's such an honor to have you here in this wonderful conversation, and actually to inspire women leaders in this kind of challenging time. So I would like to start with really capturing dangerous women subject. You as dangerous, you talking about it in your memoirs. And I remember you mentioned also that some countries even didn't allow to get the books called Dangerous Women. So by you, who's really inspiring so many women leaders nowadays, what could you say about dangerous women nowadays? What is that dangerous woman actually? Do we have to be afraid of her, or?
No, you want to lead with her and follow her and be her. And actually, it's important to note that the title is not A Dangerous Woman, it's Becoming a Dangerous Woman. And when it was suggested to me that that should be the title of my memoir, I immediately went, no, I will never call myself a dangerous woman. And then my editor said, but in fact you are, if you think about what it takes to make change, what it takes to embrace risk. It takes being dangerous, if you think about a different definition, not being afraid or not being fearful, but being fearless. So switching the concept of dangerous. So for me, what dangerous means is being willing, having the courage to speak up when there's injustice or when there is a group or a community not represented in a room, speaking out about the injustice. Having the bravery to say, this community is not here and needs to be here. Their voices need to be heard. And perhaps the most dangerous thing we can do as women leaders is show up. Show up for each other and for yourself. So
Totally.
right.
Absolutely.
First for yourself.
Yeah.
Show up with the courage, the conviction, the compassion, the bravery, all the things it takes to be a woman leader in this world today, and then to show up for other women. And that's the most important, and for me, essential lever that we have for change. If we all showed up for each other with collective strength, collective will, we quite literally could change the world. Absolutely. And we are doing that.
And we are doing that. And you are a great example. You are a proof for so many decades doing that, empowering women, bridging all the possible possibilities. And I'm seeing that you definitely went through a lot of challenges. And I wanted to ask you, first of all, what was the event in your life that really awakened inside of you that woman?
Well, probably not just one, probably many. Many times when I was challenged to step into my own courage to take a risk. So I think maybe the first big risk was leaving an abusive marriage with the child, leaving a career that I had prepared for, which was as a college professor, and moving into the world of journalism, which I didn't know very much about, but was curious. My curiosity was leading me towards that. So that was probably the first risk, which led to many, many more risk, of course, as things never quite work out as smoothly as one anticipates.
As we normally want to plan and prevision, but life gives us a challenge in order to us to shine as diamonds.
I'll tell you one thing my grandmother said to me. My grandmother, by the way, was an uneducated indigenous woman, never went to formal school, had 8 children, lived on a rural farm, but she had a saying for everything. So when I would fall as a child, and I did often because I don't have the greatest balance in the world, and I was always running, and she would pick me up and she'd say, well, honey, at least falling on your face is a forward movement.
Oh,
and I didn't calculate that as a child, of course, but the first time I lost a job or I didn't get a job that I wanted or the marriage went wrong, I would think, this is what it feels like to fail. This is what it feels like to fall unexpectedly. And every time that happened in my life, I did move forward. I did something better, something bigger, something more satisfying.
So you always, instead of losing faith and instead of like doubting on yourself, you would step forward and really reclaim your power and express yourself.
Well, of course, not immediately. There's always that moment of loss and grief. But yes, I would remember her saying that to me. And then I would think, okay, what about this can I use now to take a step forward? And I think if I had to say one, so hard to distill life, especially when, you're 82 years old and there's a lot of life.
A lot of life in one life.
But I think if anything, I would say it has been that mantra of even if it doesn't work out as you expect, to see it as an opportunity, not a failure, but an opportunity to move forward. So the idea of moving forward always has been the driving theme, if there is such a thing, I think, to my life.
So that would be for women leaders who are listening now today, a kind of inspiring and empowering phrase, to use internally. And it's very beautiful what you mentioned. Not immediately you would take that step. It's definitely takes a courage to make a pause and to basically grieve internally and allow yourself to feel everything what life challenges us, so we can better understand our emotions, we better understand what's happening internally so we can act easy and more effortlessly externally. And this is so beautiful to listen that we are not alone in this journey. If we are looking at you as a shining, empowering woman, sharing with your challenges of life, and you're shining only more, not less. So every woman can do that. Everyone can do that.
Well, that is why I'm hoping that is the case, Luna, is why I spend a lot of time now mentoring younger women who are at various points in their journey when it's so easy to feel that the journey is blocked or that you don't clearly see the way forward. And in fact, I remember you asked me at dinner recently what was my plan for the next 10 years. and I laughed and I said, I have never had a life plan. But in fact, I haven't. I never sat down and went, well, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to do this. And if you look at my career, I never did the straight thing. Men often do, men often say A to B to C to D, and here's the top. My career goes like this, because as I saw an interesting opportunity that stimulated my curiosity, that I knew I was going to learn to do something I didn't know how to do before, I would do that. Even if it meant I made less money, which often was the case, or it meant I moved myself and my child, which I did many times, because I was moving onward, moving forward. In a way that felt right for me. It's not right for everyone.
Absolutely.
Truly.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing I try and share with women is we don't have to have that complete map of our lives. Because I don't know anyone whose life worked out according to some map.
Absolutely.
And the ones who do often are the least happy. Actually.
The least happy, because we are going against our kind of a soul's plan or a bigger plan. It's kind of blowing against the wind, and it's like it's a mental disturbance that it will never be effortless. And this is so beautiful, when we surrender, and in your time of your life as a effortless, powerful woman who's really doing so much work for women empowerment and leading through the Project Dandelion, connecting so many women and climate for change experiences. What would you give from yourself to your past self as a biggest advice in terms of not giving up? Besides, stepping forward, what would be an internal maybe practice or connection? What are you doing, like just reflecting back on your life internally with yourself when you meet challenges?
I think there's probably not one answer, but maybe it's that everything that keeps me going and that motivates me and that animates my life, wherever it might be, is intention or purpose. However you want to call it. I always feel I have a purpose. There's a purpose in my being in this job. There's a purpose in my taking on Project Dandelion. And it comes with mission. I have to feel very passionate about what the mission is. But I'm convinced, especially as I go into different decades of my life, I'm convinced that having purpose is the best way to prohibit aging. It's the antidote to aging, as I like to say.
We can totally see that on you.
Well, I think it's true. I don't think of, I just don't think of my life in terms of chapters or ages. In fact, I often forget what age I am, because it isn't about that. It's about what has been my purpose. And at different points, depending on my job or my responsibilities, the purpose may have been differently defined. But the underlying purpose and intention of all of it was to use whatever influence I had, whatever platform had been given to me through a job or a community or influence, wherever it came, I would use that for other women. because I do believe deeply, and have all my life, that we have a special power as women. And if we are connected to it, understand it, optimize it in every part of our lives, we bring a different energy, not better than, different than a man's. And balance is what this world needs. We are living in a world out of balance in every single way. So my intention and my purpose underlying everything has been do what's needed or what I can do individually and collectively through Project Dandelion. What can I do to help other women, support other women's journeys to seeing that and realizing that in themselves.
This is how Dandelion started to blossom, and through you and beyond you. And it is so interesting what we previously discussed about filling that inner fuel for active and women leaders. It is women leaders we understand mostly from the old part of the world, like we have to be active as man, strong as man, powerful as man. Thus, it's not about the leadership takes the courage to be yourself, to be connected with yourself, to connect to your nature, yeah? And this is where we sat down and talked about it, that Project Dandelion really infused that power and actually activates within us what can we do together, not only as an activist, but also as internal activists to nourish ourselves. How do you see in this, let's say, AI reality right now, and that life is really accelerating very quickly, very fast? We as women are mothers, householders, project leaders. How to keep the balance there? How do you keep that balance? And what would you tell to other women leaders to do?
Well, of course, none of us have one answer, right?
Absolutely.
But what Project Dandelion is putting forward in the world is that women are already leading towards the solutions to climate and the nature crisis that is threatening the future for all of us. We want to amplify that leadership, support that leadership, and point out to every woman that we get the chance to meet and talk with that we have a contribution to make here, individually, in the way we live our lives, to live as much as possible like the dandelion. And the dandelion was a very deliberate choice because the dandelion is the only plant that lives on all 7 continents. So it's climate resilient. It can adapt to any climate, from Antarctica, where it grows up through the ice, to the deserts. We all need to be climate resilient. We know the climate is changing, nature is changing, and we have to do our part. Second of all, the dandelion is healing. Every single part of it can be eaten or drink with tea or wine. Even the roots are used to treat addiction now. So every part of this plant, so every part of our lives, we need to think of it as an opportunity to be a healer in some way, individually, collectively. And then perhaps again, most importantly for what the world needs, the dandelion regenerates itself by spreading its seeds. And by the way, I think it's the only plant that human beings have something to do with the regeneration of a plant, because we blow the seeds.
Exactly.
As little girls' wishes, right? Well, our wish is that every woman that comes into Project Dandelion, and men too, by the way, it's not women only, absolutely. It's just women-led, because we believe that will rebalance where we are in the world. But every woman who comes in becomes a seed for another woman or another community or another family. So that's the promise. It's also the mission of why, for me, that is my priority now, to spread the seeds of the dandelion and of what we can all do to restore the balance in this world.
It is so empowering because every seed is needed to expand and grow.
Yes.
And how did that was born in your heart, and of course your co-creators? How did you come up with this project and the name?
Well, actually, I resisted at first. When Mary Robinson, who was a transformative women leader as the first woman president of Ireland, when she first said to me, you need to come with me and we need to create a woman-led movement to solve the climate and nature crisis, because we're headed for a catastrophe if we don't do something, and something needs to be rebalancing the power and getting the right policy in place. And I said to her, I said, Mary, I'm not a climate scientist, I'm not a climate activist, and my husband's the environmentalist, so don't talk to me, you know. I'm the women's rights person. I had my lane, you know, of gender rights, racial rights, immigration, indigenous rights. I had all of it. And she said, none of those rights will be possible on a dead planet, a planet that isn't habitable for human beings. You have to see that all of this is intersectional. And what could I do but say, okay, yes, of course. So since then, Mary and myself and our partners, Rhonda Carnegie and Hafset Abiola, we're essentially spreading the seeds that every single one of us has a role to play in restoring the balance that's needed in this world. We can create a healthier environment, a safer environment.
Absolutely. And you know, it's so wonderful when we have our purpose. And this, as I see, is a platform to reconnect with women to your purpose, or as a human being in this planet. So once we go back or remember our purpose, then the power comes back. Then the youth energy comes back.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because we're not creating any new wisdom. We are remembering and bringing forward the wisdom of the indigenous communities, who still are the stewards of 85% of the ecosystems in the world. So we're going to them and saying, help us remember and reclaim the ancestral wisdom combined with feminist and feminine leadership. I really believe that is the way forward for the world.
I strongly believe it too, and I do believe that everyone who's listening right now, they can join Dandelion Project. They can get connected to that.
Can I ask you to join? Now, this is not joining, actually. It's not a membership organization. This is a promise and an opportunity. And when we pen leaders all over the world, men and women, and we have now thousands, we just say, this is just remembering. By putting on this pen every morning, where may I do it?
Yes, please. What an honor. What an initiation.
You are already a dandelion, but I'm going to. So we say in pinning you, this is to remember that you are a part of nature, and that as such, you will protect what you love, restore what we have lost, and regenerate what we need for a healthy, climate-safe world for everyone.
And so it is.
And so it will be.
And so it will be.
There.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you for such empowering initiation.
Thank you for the opportunity.
It is really a great honor. And before we are going to the next part of our conversation as restoring the planet, it is such a great honor for me to talk with you about elements. Ooh, as we were talking about energetic element system before. And I'm a strong believer as well. It's not about genders, it's more about feminine energy. Feminine energy itself nourishing the planet, yeah? And through feminine energy, as men and women, we just remember what we can do for ourselves, our families, and the planet Earth. And as a collective, as a community. So elemental energy system in our community as Now Be You Global, we're recreating the nature within. So the nature of your soul, of your essence, how do you act in your purpose? Yeah, and it's so interesting that for more than 20 years, I've been exploring it in men and women, understanding that yes, men, they have a different structure than a woman. Man is more like, they have more social structure, but they do have a feminine nature as well. So I look at the elemental energy that women is 60% is nature, and 40% is more structure mind, yeah? And man is vice versa. Man is 40% of nature and 60% of acting and let's say making solutions in the mind. So discovering and exploring the elements, I know that we have both in each other, these elements, but to nourish this nature within us, we can go deeper and explore what is our, let's say, what is our dominant energy? What is our leadership powers? And what are the lacking energies that we can rebalance, as you mentioned about the planet, is the same within. And sometimes the dominant energy can take us over and we go to the burnout. So I know that you explored a little bit air, fire, water, earth. I would like to ask you what you see in your elemental energy system. How do you see what is your dominant, what you would like to rebuild? How do you see the balance within you? It's very interesting to explore that for me.
It is. I would like to repeat something you said, because I think it's so important in this conversation that both feminine values and feminist values are men and women. They're not only for women. Men have empathy, compassion, all the, and can be just as good a listener as a woman. But women are naturally attuned to those attributes more generally. But it's a generalization, obviously. Feminist values are just believing in justice. That's what it means to have a feminist value set, is seeing the world in a way that should be more just and more equal. Men have that as well.
Absolutely.
So what we need is to reclaim the feminine and the feminist, in my opinion, for everyone. So what are my how do I approach that work? Well, you and I have talked about it a bit, and I've begun to think about it differently. I certainly think that I flow, because I've never, as I said, had an A to B to C life plan. I've followed curiosity, intuition, so that's a bit like water, right?
Yes.
Right. But I also have a lot of fire.
Yes.
I like to ignite a new idea and then move it forward. I'm very action-oriented, so that has to be fire.
What is the most, let's say, what you are missing the most, or what you would like to reestablish or call in as an element in your life?
Well, probably Earth. Although I mean, my whole work is about Mother Earth, right? But probably being more grounded. And I think that's why Project Dandelion has appealed to me too, is it has grounded, and other nonprofits, there are organizations that I work for. That's a part of the grounding. But I probably need more of a balance on that.
It is exactly how I was, let's say, discovering my elemental energetics. So as a fire, you really are pushing things forward, and it's incredible power that you have. And this movement of the water that I saw immediately in you through aesthetics, beauty, youthfulness.
I love connections too, and I think of water.
Yeah, water is always flows. If you block somewhere, it goes, it finds another way. That's what you do in your life and in collective life of so many other people. And for the people who are really active and flowing, maybe structure sometimes is somewhere where it's like lacking a little bit, but the power of your intelligence, intuitive intelligence, that you have such a wonderful husband who's anchoring your life.
Balance.
That's
balance.
The balance.
He's the balance. He's the earth. He is grounded. But he also never blocks. No. Never says it's. So the water has to be allowed to flow, right?
Exactly. And it has to have the, where to flow and how to flow, not to just splash your energy away. Yeah. So that's the healthy earth.
And my partners in Project Dandelion are that as well. I think Mary and I are the fire with the ideas and the action, but Rhonda is very much the earth, very much I don't want to do a strategy plan. I just want I want to take the idea and move it forward. She will figure out what is the strategy for doing that. So you have to have that combination in work. I think that's one of the frustrations for women leaders often is finding who is that right balance for me that will support my leadership and help me be the best leader I can be. And understanding our own elemental motivations is a good thing to know as a leader before you start to select who works with you.
Absolutely, and this is so great. Then we combine as a powerful planet what the planet does. It remembers its own wisdom and collects all these 4 elements. This is what happens within us. If we go deeper, recognize our elements, we combine and we play with it and we recognize in others and we stop comparing, we stop demanding from us to be someone or some other energy than I'm effortlessly am. And that's why we really encourage as many human beings to really explore, take a quiz, enjoy their elemental energy journey, and to really come back to yourself, to being yourself and learning about others.
Well, the more we understand about what is motivating us and why we're making the decisions we make or making the choices, obviously the better choices we're going to make. Yeah. So it's really important work, Luna.
It is, indeed. What could you, before we close our conversation, wish to us for fueling this women leader energetics, maybe to fill that needing part to feed ourselves? What would be your inspiring words?
Well, I hope that we've already shared many of them. I think it's be purposeful, be aware, be awake, be intentional. Be responsible. We all have a role to play. And sometimes I think, given how many challenges there are, hard to remember in this beautiful environment, which seems so in balance. But so much of the world isn't, as we know. There's so much disparity between those who have and don't. So much that could be corrected with our leadership. We need a greater balance. So believing that we all have not only a responsibility, but an opportunity to be a part of the solution. So maybe that's my final advice is look for the opportunities to be the solution. And you can't be the solution if you don't begin by being yourself.
Absolutely.
You can't do it by anyone else's guidebook, right?
Yeah.
So finding your own and believing in the strength of your own authenticity, for a somewhat overused word, but it's really true. It's it's your work.
Yes.
Understanding who you are inside, what motivates you, what guides you, what leads you. You have to understand that first. Absolutely. And then understanding that, taking that into the world. I used to work for a man who would always say, once I know where I want to go, I never listen to anyone on the way up. And I would say, but then you're missing all this advice, And he would say, no. I have decided first what I know is right for me, and in this case, right for the companies he was leading. He said, but I have to believe that so strongly that I can take every step no matter what the challenge is. So I think part of that has to be the way we think about our lives, but not as some heavy set of responsibility, as a beautiful opportunity. We have this beautiful world that we have been privileged to live in. And I want to make sure my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren now can live in the same beautiful place and find their way of regenerating it for the next generations.
Thank you so much, Pat. It's been an honor and such an inspiring time together. And all I want to wish for everyone who's listening right now and seeing this beautiful light within you and hearing it, that never stop being curious. Curiosity, that's
that is really, stay curious. I think that might be the driving, the life force. My life force perhaps has been that, and we all have that. We just have to let it live inside of us.
Definitely. So Pat, I believe you have many personal stories and experiences when you are putting all these powerful leaders together. And we do know that once we get collectively, the power is so much stronger than we think and act alone.
Yes.
So the separation is not any longer on our path. Could you share your personal stories or experiences that you really remember how shifted so strongly that you can't ever forget?
Well, I was very fortunate to come of political age, and by that I mean the voting age in the United States, at the time of two great social justice movements, the civil rights movement and the women's movement. And in both of those cases, you saw individuals who were experiencing injustice come together and through collective action, change laws, change communities, change lives. So I saw that and participated in that as a young woman. So I believed in the power of collective action, of solidarity, of being united by purpose. And then another very transformative moment for me about women was in the early 90s, during one of the disruptions in the Middle East. I went to the first ever convened Women's Peace Conference. And I saw a group of women from opposite sides of the wars, Arab, Palestinian women, Israeli, Jewish women from all over the world, in one weekend negotiated a peace treaty that would have solved the crisis in the Middle East forever. It didn't get passed because they weren't in power. And what was said at the end of that was, as women, we must change the nature of power rather than power changing the nature of women. And that really became a sort of touchstone of my work, to bring women together and talk about that. What does that mean? That means that as leaders, we have to look at the opportunity to use our power collectively, to share it, not own it, not live in it, not use it to dominate or dismantle. And I've observed that all over the world. And my work as a war correspondent, I saw it was women who brought the communities to the peace tables. It was women who insisted in the peace agreements that children were taken care of, families were taken care of, health care was established, not just wars ended. And that's not because women are better. It's just that we approach things from a different perspective, and that perspective changes everything, especially when we do it together. So now I am seeing that all over the world, Luna. It's so exciting. Recently in Ethiopia, I saw a group of smallholder farmers. I hate that they call them smallholder farmers because there's nothing small about these women except that they own small plots of land. But instead of just being what we think of as regenerating and creating beautiful food, by the way, they feed 85% of middle and small countries. Women farmers do. These women looked around, we have a problem here. The irrigation system isn't working. They completely redesigned the irrigation system. collectively came together and said, we've got one big problem here, let's solve it together. So they became entrepreneurs, they became engineers, they became what they needed to do to serve their community. I mean, I could just give you endless examples of what we are seeing all over the world. On the front lines where the challenges are the biggest, women are stepping up, bringing their best qualities of air, water, earth, fire in combination, maybe, in the best combination.
Can you tell that?
And doing it together.
Can you tell that by experiencing all these shifts and changes and communities, women communities, and seeing that it's the feminine nature. It's not about women and men, because men are doing also a lot of action from feminine nature, nourishing, doing different solutions than fighting on, or just owning, but providing and nourishing. So do you see that we are stepping in as, let's say, in this Aquarius time where everybody's talking about feminine nature and feminine nourishment, and that everything is going to be led from a different angle that it used to be?
I think it must be. But what blocks us still in this conversation is that too often when we talk about feminine nature, men feel excluded. And they're not. And we have to find new ways to talk about all of the challenges we're facing as a human community, all together, men and women. That what is the problem, what is the biggest challenge is just that we are not in balance with each other or with ourselves. And women have lost their way just as men have lost their way. That's what changing the nature of power means to me. We have too often adapted to what was the male-dominated view of power, and it was male-dominated because mostly men held power.
Absolutely.
But women can hold power in a different way that not only is good for us and our communities, but it's good for men.
Absolutely.
And the men I know who have come to understand that, they are changing. Not only themselves, but their communities and their world.
As we start to remember that we hold these two powers within ourselves, and it's, again, not about the gender, we just help each other to remember, I hold those two energies and I want to balance them in the world and within myself.
Yeah, exactly. And that is the big word, isn't it? It's finding the right balance of all the things that drive and motivate us, and then finding the right balance in our relationships, the right balance in the way we lead. But to get there, it takes a few of us stepping forward and using our voices, as you are using yours now, to help women discover that individually, because you can't form a collective if the individuals aren't also united. And what Indigenous communities know, and we must remember, they know what it means to say we're in community. And we have lost that. We have disremembered that. And we have forgotten that. That's what community really means. No. It means being united by purpose, by all the ways that life moves forward in the community.
And I do trust we are coming to the path of remembrance.
I do too, yeah. Our path forward is by remembering the past in many ways.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Pat. It's been an honor and such an inspiring time together. And all I want to wish for everyone who's listening right now and seeing this beautiful light within you and hearing it, that never stop being curious. Curiosity, that's the youth.
That is really, stay curious. I think that might be the driving, the life force. My life force perhaps has been that, and we all have that. We just have to let it live inside of us.
Definitely. Let's enjoy our life.
Yeah, it's a beautiful life to share this moment with you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And to be continued.
To be continued.
Oh,
Thank you. That was
thank
lovely.
you.
Thank you for listening to Now Be You podcast. If you liked our conversation, please subscribe the podcast and join our community where much more authentic conversations to come.